This is Windshield Hoops. What's going on, everybody? This is Jay Wilder Adams, of course, alongside Zach Dean and one of my very good friends, basketball buddy at ASU, but also just big time on the volume for Nerd Sesh, Logan Camden. What's going on, guys?
I'm doing great, man. Only got 6 more days left of high school and then I graduate, so I'm feeling pretty good. NBA finals starting up soon. Excited.
Dude, I'm on the same wave. I mean, I just graduated. This has been the most exciting playoffs I can remember in a long time, James. I'm very happy to be here, bro, and talk some ball with you guys.
Yeah, man. Logan and I, we have a lot of history on the basketball court. We've played on the courts for multiple years now. So, the moment I found out he's got this killer, platform and Nerd Sesh, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best of all worlds. So, yeah, Logan's a very good player, by the way, everybody.
Don't gas me up, James. James kicks my tail, bro. We don't have to dress it up.
No, his corner three, his corner fadeaway three, I still don't understand how he makes that. He always makes that. So he is crazy with the shots he makes. I'm not kidding.
James, you're just a tank, bro. He gives me that like double €2 to the rack, easy hook every time, man. Nah, James, you're dirty, but I'm kicking. I'm running you next time we play, bro. It's wraps.
All right.
It's like you know what James is gonna do like 10 times in a row, and he'll still do it to you. It's weird. He's like Luca. He just floats.
He's a bulldog. Like man, what's your dog's name, James?
Tommy.
Yeah, you a bulldog like Tommy.
Appreciate that. Zach getting on the TikTok reel, okay?
Yep.
No, but Zach can play, by the way. So you know what? Like we can sort of back up what we talk about on this. Not at the NBA level, but all of us can back it up a little bit. We didn't have long, decorated college careers or anything. We're moderate, we're casual. But all right, guys. So we have a ton to talk about throughout this podcast. A lot of draft stuff, playoff stuff. I would say we're talking Logan. He knows basically everything about stats and things of that nature because he's on Nerd Sesh. So we're going to do a draft trivia. He and I'm unbeaten so far. So it's going to be a battle at the end of this episode. So stay tuned for that.
James is nuts at that.
So we're going to start out though right away with the draft. I think all of us can predict this guy's going to be the number 1 overall pick. We're not going to ask that question on draft trivia, but Victor Wembanyama, where does he rank among, all-time prospects when you look at just the history of the NBA? Hey, Logan, I'm curious to see what you think here first.
One of the biggest discussions I saw on like ESPN was their big debate between would you rather have Wembanyama or would you rather have like LeBron? And I mean, if we're having that conversation, it legitimizes everything about Victor, right? Victor has insane touch. He's 7'3". It's the way he moves. You shouldn't be that tall and move like he does, man. It's really smooth and buttery. You can run him in so many different actions, on the low block, out of the pick and roll, stuff like that. He's really special. And then the thing that I think really makes him uber special, man, is, that long wingspan, how he can protect the rim, what a force he could be defensively immediately and then down the line. Maybe you're looking at a guy who could be a defensive player of the year kind of guy. He's got everything in his bag. You know what I mean? He's a great playmaker too. There's not a tool that this guy doesn't have. He excels everything on the basketball court, and he's a freak in terms of length and size and all of that. I mean, I think he might be the greatest all time. You know what I mean? If it was between him or LeBron, right? It's easy to say in hindsight. Of course, I take LeBron. LeBron's actually lived up to all the hype that he had coming into the draft process. In a more historical sense, I mean, I think you can look at like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a guy who was 4 years out of school, the unrivaled best player out of college. I'm trying to think about other guys, maybe like Pistol Pete had one of the greatest college careers of all time. I don't know if he had. I think that Victor's probably the greatest all time, man, in terms of he ticks all of your boxes for modern basketball, and looks like he's going to be the greatest of all time if he can just stay healthy. I mean, it's LeBron, him, and Kareem, I think, are the top 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with, not taking the 7'4" guy. In my opinion, that's a more fluid, like Kristaps Porzingis on offense, and he's somebody who was known early on for his defensive presence on the court. I mean, you're talking about a guy who the NBA app, for crying out loud, is streaming all of his games right now. Every single game he plays, they're promoting on Instagram. And we're talking about a guy like it wouldn't have and we're talking about a guy who's doing this from overseas. Like he's gained all this attention even as an overseas player where we know it's a lot harder to do that from. And I think if he was, a guy playing college basketball, I think he would maybe be one of the most popular athletes in the world because of what he's able to do, even more than what Zion Williamson, gained at Duke this past, a few years ago when he was coming up. But yeah, I think if, you put him and LeBron and Kareem together when they were just pure prospects coming into an NBA draft, I feel like it'd be hard to not take the guy with insane touch and feel at 7'4".
I think you guys both made great points. I'm just going to give you guys the answer. I think he's number 2. I think when you talk about this millennium and just compare him straight to LeBron James, and you put them side by side, like Richard Jefferson said, Victor is the best player in a European French league, right? And he is 7'4", maybe 7'5" in shoes. And height wins in the NBA historically as prospects. That's why centers have historically been the most common number 1 overall pick, right? And you also consider the size, the shooting. He's ahead of LeBron at the same stage as a shooter while being bigger and providing just more valuable defensive skill sets, which is rim protection, right? So you consider all of that and just what Victor's already accomplished, walked into America and dropped 36 and then 37, right, against a professional team in the G League Ignite. I think he's the best prospect of this millennium because you have to bet on the height. I think his resume is better than LeBron's at this stage in terms of being more proven. So he's number 1 of this millennium. But what Kareem did in college, man, he's the best college player of all time. And I think when you stack resumes at the time in which Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came into the league, he was as sure thing as you can get at that time. And I think Kareem is one of the greatest floor prospects of all time because everybody knew he had a move that you couldn't stop, right? He just had a move nobody could stop while providing that defensive value, while providing that rebounding value, right? So I think Kareem is still number 1 because of what he's proven. Victor, yeah, I get it. He proved what he could do in a professional league, but he also did it in the French league. And the French league is one of the less athletic leagues in Europe. If you're going to nitpick, I mean, Killian Hayes is out here just knocking guys out in that league, being a better athlete than everybody else. Sekou Doumbouya, right? I'm not saying Victor's those guys, but I think the resume of what Kareem did in college in relative to that time is more impressive than what Victor did on a French team that was catered to him when he's playing against just way inferior athletes because it's not a very athletic professional league. So for that reason, I think Kareem has a higher floor than Victor coming in. So I'm going Kareem 1, Victor 2, LeBron 3.
I've been scrolling through my head trying to think of other guys that should be up here. I think Zach made a good point bringing up Zion in terms of hype. Mm-hmm. I think Anthony Davis is probably another guy that I would consider if you're talking about pure prospects coming out. Mm-hmm. AD was super hyped. Wiggins also had a lot of gas behind him too. Those are in recent memory. The one thing I will say, though, James, I don't want to undersell LeBron and what he was coming out, dude. I mean, LeBron was in the McDonald's high school All-American game. They were comparing him to Bird, to Magic, to Jordan. Bro, he hadn't even smelt the NBA draft yet, and they were already talking about that. So I don't want to undersell LeBron's resume coming out. I mean, he literally was top dog. But I think Wemby makes a strong case. I'd still probably take Kareem. You're splitting hairs here. My one concern, guys, and you guys tell me what you think. My one concern with Wemby moving forward, and I've said this about a lot of guys, is that we've never really seen somebody with that freakish kind of frame hold up in the NBA. You've got guys like, Yao Ming, Rick Smits, guys who've suffered abbreviated careers, Ralph Sampson, guys who dealt with a lot of injuries. Sampson and Ming, I think, are the 2 biggest examples. And then you get to modern guys like Porzingis and Embiid, always stay beaten up. That's my one concern with Wemby, and I don't want to put that on him. I hope he has a very prosperous, healthy career. Even a guy like Kevin Durant, man, it's just hard to withstand all that up and down, all that demands on such a big body. So that's my one concern with Wemby, and why maybe guys like Kareem or LeBron would have an advantage or, something to be concerned about. I love Wemby, and I hope none of that happens to him, but that is my one concern with him and his frame.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a legit concern. Like, even if you aren't I think everybody should be concerned with that in some sense. I guess I'm not as concerned as most people. I trust him a little bit more than a lot of people do, I guess. I think I trust the Spurs organization and how they'll handle him as well and what they'll do to put around him. But I mean, he's had elite doctors and elite staff around him since he's 16 years old. I mean, his pregame prep is absolutely nuts. If you've seen it, it's like 45 minutes. He's like stretching in between his toes and stuff. Like I think he takes care of his body more than like any past examples we've seen. And today's load management and how everything works like that, I think he can get away with early on playing a little bit less and resting some games. And hopefully the Spurs, maybe if they really want to help prevent injuries, maybe they go out this offseason and get somebody like Brook Lopez, who's on the free agency market, to take some physical pressure off him in the post, or get some other type of big and put Wembanyama at power forward, which I think he can definitely do. But yeah, I think that's still definitely one of the big concerns with him and his longevity potential.
Zach made great points there. I love what Zach said. I absolutely agree with Logan. And I'll say it like this. If Victor Wembanyama has injury issues in his career, there's literally nothing you can do.
That's fair.
Ever since Victor was 15 or 14 years old, he's been a prodigy prospect. I mean, I remember watching this guy in my science class desk in 2017, my freshman year of high school. And I remember Mike Schmitz talking about this 13, 14-year-old kid, and I wasn't really paying attention to the praise because I was trying to pronounce his name correctly. But, I just remember how hyped he was at that time. And that was a representation of just how – I mean, I'll put it like this. I've been following Victor Wembanyama ever since he had Squidward as his profile picture, and he had like 8,000 followers.
You're an OG.
I'm an OG, I suppose. And
James is gatekeeping Victor Wembanyama right now.
Okay, yeah. Keeping the receipts, man. I'm keeping the receipts. But no, so like, long story short, he's been focused on that long, 2017, 2018, and they've been like Zach said, like, what is the biggest concern with a 7'5" guy? It's stress fractures, right? So what have they been doing? They've been emphasizing, keeping his big toe strong, maintaining his flexibility, making sure he's not putting on muscle too fast because that can put pressure on your bones as well, right? I got a medical degree, so I know what I'm talking about.
That's what you go to ASU for.
Yep, definitely. But like Zach said, Victor, just because he's been that concentrated on, I'm actually like less worried about those guys. But you can also argue like Yao Ming, same thing. I mean, he was literally made in a lab. It's a fact.
No, that's a real story.
The tallest man and the tallest woman in China had a baby named Yao Ming. That's what the Chinese government did, right? And okay, I need to get rid of that because I don't need the Chinese government after me. But that's what some videos have said. So
yeah, Chinese government's watching Windshield Hoops.
You never know. They're probably listening on the computer right now. But like I said, I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be okay for those reasons, even though there's valid concerns. And also San Antonio has one of the most well-respected medical staffs in the NBA, so he couldn't have ended up in a better spot, for many reasons. I think Victor's going to be okay, man. I think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think that's a very hot take, but yeah. Anything else you guys want to say?
On Wemby, I mean, yeah. If he stays healthy, he's going to be the GOAT. I think I do have one gripe. You guys know how like ESPN heads have been oh man, I think it was Chris Broussard.
Way too much pressure on him.
Yeah, dude. If he's not Hakeem, if he's not this, if he's not that, guys, I don't know. I don't think we fundamentally appreciate enough basketball greatness as it happens in front of our faces. Like, dude, if Wemby is a top 25, if Wemby is a top 50 player of all time, I think this is a success. Obviously, he has the potential to be a GOAT, but I mean, if he's not Hakeem, bro, it's not. Hakeem's one of the 15 greatest players all time, guys. If he's not LeBron, if he's not Kobe, don't do this to him, bro. Like, it's just too much. Take it for what it is. Go along for the ride, man. I just think we do too much of that. And to say, like, bro, if he's Hakeem, I'm really happy with that. I mean, how can you not be thrilled, bro? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That was nasty. That was one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life.
I think his expectation should be to be the best player in the draft class that he's in. I think that's a realistic one. As he's labeled as the number one prospect, he should be the best player from this class. That's like the first thing that I would hope he passes. Other than that, I wouldn't really set out any more expectations for him.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama, man. If you're not a top 12 player ever, you're a bust.
If you can't win 2 MVPs and 2 rings, you're a bust.
That was such a wild statement. Okay. Now we're going to transition a little more draft talk. We'll talk a little bit about the playoffs soon. But so we know the draft order, right? San Antonio 1, Charlotte 2, Portland 3, Houston 4, Detroit 5. Who's at 6? Orlando at 6,
yeah.
Indiana at 7, so on and so on. What is the most fascinating draft order storyline? I'll start again with Logan.
All right. I mean, I'll take the softball lob. I'll see where you guys go after this. I think the biggest one here has to be what the Portland Trailblazers do with the 3rd pick. And I agree with you. I've actually watched your guys' videos on, on this stuff, James. I thought you've made a really good take throughout this draft process, and that is the Blazers need to give up on Damian Lillard. I think you called him what, the the girlfriend, James?
I said that guy who's talking about getting married but doesn't have a girlfriend yet.
Yeah, man. And it's a perfect comparison because your title window is not going to be opened by just one move, and I think just, guys, it's time to give up on this window, like to even extend it or to try to run it back with Damian Lillard. I think you're just better recouping a lot of assets for him and building around this young core. I mean, with the 3rd pick, the Blazers can take Scoot Henderson. They can pair him up with Shaedon Sharpe, with Ant Steins. That's an explosive bucket-getting backcourt, man, with with Ant, and then with Scoot, and then with Shaedon on the wing, man. I mean, there's just a lot of untapped potential there, and you can let these young guys grow together and, potentially build up to that. I also think they should get rid of Nurkic. So, I mean, I think go for a full overhaul, get rid of the old guys, in with the new. And, I think Scoot has his own concerns with, like, spacing the floor, but he's a good pull-up jump shooter at 35%. I think he can get better. He's great at creating separation, and he's a great rim pressure and can just get to the rack with ease, and he's a great playmaker. I mean, I just think it's dumb to try to keep building on something that's just not there, man. Go out, get a bunch of first-round picks, get another young asset, and build with this young core, man. So I think I'll take the softball there, guys. I think the biggest storyline is if the Blazers mistakenly go in on Damian Lillard again and with this old core. And I just think the West is really tough, and they're really far away from legitimately contending for an NBA title. I think Lillard can be a 1, but I think it's got to be somewhere else that just has a more established core that he can step into and have an actual title team around him in.
Yeah, I don't really see the path to, like James said, to really get a championship core around Lillard. I think you could, if you traded pick 3 and reshape the roster, I think you could have a fun team next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could be a competitive team in the West, but you're not going to be better than Nuggets. And I don't think there's a few teams out East you're going to be better than, and maybe a few more teams in the West. I don't think it makes sense. Like, I get it. The owners want to win. They want their money. It's hard to lose your, best player in franchise history like that. But you got to take advantage of these crazy packages that, teams are, sending out right now for superstars, and Dame would, definitely attract that. And I don't know. I think you're in a perfect spot at the top of a draft to get a top prospect to potentially build around. And you have some assets in the roster as well. So maybe you're a little bit ahead of the rebuilding curve compared to most teams when they're shipping off top players. But yeah, I think it's time. But they're not going to do it. They're gonna trade the pick and build around Dame. We already know this. They're not going to trade Dame. They're so attached to him.
You know what, man? I just think they should trade the number 3 overall pick and Anthony Simons for Cat. Honestly, I think they should trade him for Cat. I think Scoot should be a Timberwolf. It's the best in the world. But
you're getting Simons and the 3rd pick?
That'd be crazy. Hey! 5 years ago, Cat was like the number 1 ranked young player to build around. I mean, come on. But number 1 pick, it's simple math. Number 1's more than number 3, but less is better in the draft. But okay, in all seriousness, yeah, I made my take on that yesterday. I totally agree with all that you guys said. Just with the number, what are you doing, man? Like, if Portland landed the number 1 overall pick, I'd be like, okay, I see the vision of like a Dame or Victor or Dame plus, which it would still be dumb to trade Victor, but you would get a top 3 package we've ever seen, right? So you consider that, like, then I sort of get the vision. That's out. That's out the window. It's out the window. It's not happening. There's not enough assets. You're a bottom 5 team in the NBA. You had the 5th worst record, and you're talking championship? 2 years. 2 years. That is like if I had like a 1.4 GPA in college 2 years in, and I'm trying to get to a 3.8 by my senior year. Are you out of your mind? Right? So, yeah, it's nonsense. They should trade Dame. So Honestly, I'm sick of that, man. It's so stupid. But, here's the thing, though. Do we consider the Mike Schmitz element enough in this? Because Mike Schmitz has some power in that Portland Trailblazers. He's the top scout guy there, right? And if the right guy falls at 3, is there a possibility that they pivot because Dame is already out here on Twitter saying like, "Ooh, create petitions to get me out of here," right?
I'm sure Mike Schmitz wants to take a guy at 3, with the draft junkie he is. And they have another first round pick, right? Like 23.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, and maybe you can get, I don't know who would be there. I mean, maybe get another first round pick in this year's class too, dude. It's kind of asinine to me that they're just trying to draw this thing out, man. They're too far away. You'd have to dump Nurk. You'd have to dump Jeremy Grant, man. I think you can get an ass load back, man. I mean, I look at the Pacers, look at the Thunder and how far advanced they are. Like the Thunder, I think, are the best example, right? Because they went out on a young guy that they really believed in SGA, and he became the superstar. But it's just time, man. Are there any other guys that you really like in the lottery? Or are there any other destinations you guys are really intrigued by? At the top of the class.
I love Cam Whitmore, man.
Yeah,
I love Cam Whitmore. I think the world's missing it on him. I just do. I think if he wasn't dealing with that hand stuff this year, I think he'd probably be a top 3 pick. I think the world.
And maybe if Villanova was better too.
Mm-hmm.
Villanova sucked this year. They were really bad. They had a coaching turnover. The roster was really bad. Like, I think Whitmore.
I should hope Cam Whitmore's case, right? Look, like a relatively dysfunctional situation, a good program. That's weird. So,
but I mean, he just didn't get to showcase himself in March Madness, which obviously if you don't get that chance, it doesn't necessarily hurt your stock, but you don't really get the chance to have that crazy boost. But a guy that I really like in a destination I like is Taylor Hendricks to Orlando at 6. I think that team needs defense. I think he fits the format of the type of player that they draft, athletic big forwards, and he's a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. They're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. I think he fills that. I don't think he's a top 6 prospect right now. I think I have him at like 8 on my board, but I think it makes a lot of sense for Orlando there at 6.
Man, this draft's so crazy. I think
so good.
I think Portland should trade the pick, or trade Dame and just have a boatload of assets, and you build around Sharp, Scoot/Miller, Simons, and all that great stuff. I think that should be the path. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to get traded, and I think it's going to be a big trade. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I think Portland's adding an all-star to the team this summer. Pure speculation. Promise I don't have any sources. Trust me, I don't. I got like 600 Twitter followers. Like, let's be serious here. But another storyline I think is interesting is what Charlotte does at number 2, because that could influence Portland too on what they do with that. Because what if Charlotte just takes Scoot? I think he fits next to LaMelo, because I think LaMelo's best role is a star guard, but more of a connective star, right? Not like, I'm not comparing LaMelo to Steph because he's not Steph. Not saying that. But I don't think Steph would be the same player if he tried to play like Harden, right? I think LaMelo Ball is in a similar way because he can't put pressure on the rim, and he's better shooting off the dribble, off screens, things like that. So I would love just a powerful young guard next to him who can take weight off of him and get him some, shots off the catch. I think that would be great. But let's say that happens. Maybe Miller ends up going to Portland because you can slide him in at 3 and you bring Jeremy Grant back, right? And the roster makes a little more sense. But if Charlotte goes for Miller, whether it's because of fit or because they prefer him, then all of a sudden it's the Scoot and Dame question. And I guarantee they won't coexist. So
yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, I think that is honestly the most interesting storyline, what Charlotte does at number 2, because that feels the most unpredictable at this point.
I want to slow you down there, James, with the LaMelo talk about Steph.
He's not Steph. That's
no. I want to say, dude, Steph is so unique and just the off ball.
Yeah, I agree.
To expect that and it's just a fundamental, like, that's what makes Steph so great, right? Because of the complete offensive gravity and the attention that you have to pay to him, but it's also the commitment to him moving off ball. So I just think that it's hard for me to imagine LaMelo in an off-ball situation right now. You know what I mean? He's so dependent on having the rock in his hands and being a good player. I think that's somewhere he needs to grow as a player, right? Like, I think that's somewhere like Trae Young has to grow as an off-ball mover and learn how to play within the flow of an offense. So I don't know if LaMelo's a 1, but I think Brandon Miller really is the logical pick at 2 for Charlotte because I don't know, man. Him and Scoot do have some redundancies, right? They are both best with the ball in their hands, and it's a change. I think Brandon can step in at number 2, and I think he can. I mean, I think he can be an elite spot up and off ball guy from the jump because he's a 40% catch and shooter. He's an elite guy at attacking closeouts. He's super athletic. He can get downhill and draw fouls. He's good in the lane. He's got a decent handle. I just think he fits better alongside LaMelo right now, and then I think he has legitimate star upside as a go-to scorer. My comp for Brandon Miller. Now I know he had you talk about Cam Whitmore not being, able to go into the tournament at Villanova and rise his stock.
Miller was hurt.
Brandon just struggled in the tournament, man. He had a really bad one. He also had a lot of stuff going on at the time too, but I really struggled during March Madness. I don't know, man. I think Brandon really has star upside and is a immediate spot up guy who's great off ball with LaMelo from day one. So I think it would be a little bit of a mistake where you can kind of do a Indiana Jones 1-for-1 swap. You trade out Damian Lillard for Scoot and kind of let him take the reins as the primary ball handler. But I think they're both great prospects. I just think Brandon fits more as a puzzle piece right now in Charlotte.
I'm going to defend what I was saying about LaMelo. I wasn't comparing him to Steph. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is I think LaMelo Ball, the best version of himself, is more of
100%.
It's an offensive engine that is flow-based.
Mm-hmm.
It's not heliocentric. It's very flow-based. LaMelo Ball is more of a playmaker than Steph, and Steph is just – LaMelo's not going to touch Steph as overall gravity impact. But what I'm saying is in terms of just flow, not dominating the ball, I think LaMelo Ball in that heliocentric role exposes a lot of his, strength and finishing deficiencies. So that's what I was saying. So putting him next to a Scoot Henderson, somebody who provides those elements, and also LaMelo Ball, I know Scoot's not Lonzo, but he does have experience playing next to other ball handlers growing up, right? So that's why I think that's the right pick. But look, the Miller and Scoot thing, I wouldn't take Miller for fit because I like Scoot more, but I'm not as mad about the Miller over Scoot talk as I was about the Jabari over Paolo and Chet. I never understood that.
No, neither did I.
But, Miller, I'm not as mad about it. So, yeah, Charlotte at number 2, I think it's going to completely change if Miller's there at 3, man, does Portland trade the pick? Because that's a logical fit next to Dame.
Yeah, but dude, to put those expectations, that's the thing that I think's dumb about that, man, is you've got to pick a direction. Rookies rarely come into the league immediately and are impact winning guys. Yeah, man, Brandon Miller could step in, but he's probably still going to be a little efficient. He's probably going to need to grow as a decision maker. That's what's hard about this. It's if you want to be competitive, I think the best route is trading the pick. I think regardless, Portland needs to pick a side, but to expect that you're going to really impact winning with a number 2 as a rookie, I think is really hard to expect of Brandon Miller early on.
Mm-hmm. I think the fit is a lot closer than a lot of people make it seem between Scoot and Miller in Charlotte. I think LaMelo. Something. Oh yeah, LaMelo. I think it's something that not many people are talking about, but I think it would be kind of weird with the dynamic of LaMelo and Miller as your top 2 scoring options when they're both poor finishers at the rim. I mean, Brandon Miller, 39% at the rim in the half court this year at Alabama. That's really bad. He just doesn't welcome contact very much. He's not athletic. I think it would be I don't think LaMelo's super athletic either. I think it'd be kind of weird to have your 2 top guys not be, big time athletes. And I do have a lot of concerns when it comes to LaMelo. With his injuries, he had legitimately 4 ankle sprains this past year. And I think having another guard ready to step in a lot of the time makes sense. But I think LaMelo Ball can really tap into his off-ball ability. And I think they kind of complement each other with scoring. Scoot Henderson, a really athletic, strong finisher at the basket. Really nice in the mid-range. That's how he works. And then LaMelo, LaMelo likes to work at the rim a lot, despite being not a great finisher, and then he's a 3-point shooter. Kind of that's the style he's grown up with his dad. I think they complement each other pretty well, and I think Henderson is probably the better defensive option for them right now too. I'm not a huge. I think Miller will be an average defender. When he gets to a second contract, I think Scoot has plus upside.
What do you guys think about Scoot's limitation? How he would limit them spacing wise, right? Because I think that's my only concern with Scoot is I don't know. Like I expect him to come along and be a decent catch and shooter, but like you guys don't think that kills the spacing in Charlotte?
I think I don't
okay,
know.
Zach,
He's not like the greatest shooter now. He's a mid range, like he can work in the mid range super well. I think he shot 32% from three. I don't remember that the volume was on that. I think he'll be serviceable early on. Maybe he can turn to a better shooter over time. I don't know if the spacing would be dreadful because of that. I think, they're both really, really good passers and they can get, find each other, like other guys open. They can find open shooters and stuff. I wouldn't be too concerned about the spacing, but yeah, I think, right away, Scoot will struggle a little bit from deep probably.
I would say with Mark Williams on the court, that is a very valid question. I would say LaMelo Ball, in my opinion, is a top 10 shooter in the league right now. He's that good of a shooter to me, number one. And
That's wild. That's wild, James.
I'm not answering your phone. Okay, sorry. LaMelo Ball, I mean, he's been like near top of the league in terms of long distance shooting. I think he was number one in the league from like past 30 feet his rookie year. And he's shooting like nearly 40% on 10 attempts, which is pretty ridiculous this year. So I think he's earned that the past couple of years. But so to that point, LaMelo Ball provides elite floor spacing next to Scoot Henderson. And I think you need to emphasize floor spacing at the 3 and the 4 spot after that point. PJ Washington makes sense there. I don't know what you do with the 3, but you're bad for a reason. Charlotte, figure it out. And, I think at this point, like, Scoot's 19, LaMelo's 21. Like, we have time to figure this out, And I think long-term, I think Scoot's going to struggle from 3, especially early in the NBA, because he is a high jumper with his jump shot. And that affects his touch. That affects his range. Usually people who jump high struggle shooting with range. They just do. Right? Because they're not using enough leg power from the within. They're jumping up, and it's hard to be accurate like that, right? Because you're constantly moving your body, So that's why players like Cat are great at shooting from 3 because they literally don't jump, so they have great balance, right?
Yeah.
So Scoot's going to need to work on that. I think long term he's got okay enough shooting upside if you put good floor spacers at the 3 and 4. And I think Charlotte has to figure it out. And I agree with Zach, like rim pressure is still the most important element for stars in the league. I think that's the difference between being the best player in a championship team and not for some of the elite players in the league. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but I think that's the most important thing. So I think having an elite rim pressurer, which is why I prefer Scoot over Miller, that's the big reason. And yeah, if you have no rim pressure, I don't think you have a chance.
How much do you guys value Henderson also being 21 months younger and the fact that he's got 2 years of pro experience under his belt already, playing against, guys who are top college players at once in the G League?
My big thing about Scoot is you talk about Brandon Miller and your concerns with him in the half court. My biggest thing with Scoot is really, I think the most important thing in building a great offense is spacing. I think rim pressure is very important when it comes to like crucial bucket getting. Like how, for instance, the Celtics will go through these lulls, right? Because they're really dependent on the 3 ball. Like if you have a lot of guys who can get downhill, you're going to get easier looks. It's not going to stagnate as much. You're going to draw fouls. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think spacing is more conducive to winning offensive basketball. And that's my biggest thing with Scoot is a lot of his scoring comes in transition, right? And it comes in, I think it's going to be an adjustment a little bit. He's an explosive athlete, but I think it's going to be an adjustment going from these G League interior defenders to legitimate NBA, great interior defenders. And so that's my biggest thing is I think Brandon's going to have a little bit more of that in-between game in the mid-range off pull-ups. I know Scoot's okay in the mid-range and okay in pull-ups, but he doesn't really have floaters. He doesn't have runners.
For mid-range this year. Is that the right numbers? Like he was really good from mid-range.
Yeah.
He was 35% on pull-ups. That's the one thing is Scoot scares me a little more in the half court. I think Brandon's immediately going to be a great shooter and a great floor spacer. And I don't know, I just kind of value that a little bit more off ball. And then I don't know, man, you say Brandon Miller's not super athletic. I think Brandon Miller has a lot of star traits that I like. I think he's not good at finishing right now, but I think with time, I think he can be a legitimate playmaker, a legitimate pick and roll ball handler, and a legit good finisher at the rim. I think he's like, I don't know, man. I think maybe down the line, Brandon Miller could be like Paul George or something like that, man. I mean that.
I'll counter you with this take. Okay, so one, I would say the most efficient shot in basketball will forever be shots at the rim. And I also think number two, if guys like Stephen Curry weren't excellent finishers, I think it's way easier to guard you because you guard up, right? I think the threat of being able to get to the rim is what makes spacing easier. So if you're just surrounding a team with shooters that can't put pressure on the rim, I think it's really hard to create efficient offense, which is why I think rim pressure is still more important than shooting, even though they both need each other, right? Like an actor and a writer, right? They need each other all times, an actor and a director, however you want to put it. It's the same thing with slashing and spacing. So I had a second idea. I forgot the second idea. But, Oh yeah, Zach, shut up. I'm just kidding. I'm on a groove right now. Jeez, come on. All right. So I'll say this: what scares me with Miller at the rim is one. I'm not comparing him to Jared Culver. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not comparing him to Jared Culver. But
great start.
But I think athletically they have similarities, and the reason
I think I see that
because Jared Culver, while he could finish above the rim, he wasn't explosive. He didn't have that quick twitch. He didn't have that, strength to, he wasn't above the rim because he didn't like being physical at the rim. And I see a lot of similarities in that element where it makes me question, is Brandon Miller's finishing going to translate? Because he doesn't like to finish above and he isn't very physical naturally because he isn't very strong. He doesn't absorb contact like a Scoot Henderson does. So I don't think his finishing is going to be as good as people hope it's going to be. I like Brandon Miller a lot, and I think he's going to be a stud for a lot of the reasons, like you said, Logan, because he's so dynamic. And the reason why he's not a Jabari Smith is because he has way more wiggle than Jabari does, right? So, like I said, I'm not comparing LaMelo Ball to Stephen Curry, and I'm not comparing Brandon Miller to Jared Culver. But I see slight similarities in terms of the finishing.
Man, you have brutal PTSD, James. Jared Culver burned you, huh, man?
Oh man, you
guys were supposed to get Darius Garland, dude.
Draft. I did not for that reason. I actually hurt my hand because I literally punched a wall when we drafted him.
Jeez.
I'm not kidding.
No, I hated him as a prospect too, bro. It was all the tournament run with Texas Tech, bro.
And he wasn't even in the Final Four, man. He couldn't create.
Rare Jared Gerson Rosasel.
But like I said, Brandon Miller's finishing scares me a little bit. But
yeah,
that's where I'm going to leave at it.
I do have one thing because we're talking about Scoot spacing, and I think that's definitely a concern that everybody should have about him because the 3-point shooting, it's a little suspect right now. But I do think he can succeed with negative spacing around him because that's what he's done the last 2 years next to Leonard Miller and Sidy Cissoko, who are also two top prospects.
That's fair, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, his two top running mates this year dude, I like Miller. He's top 12 prospect to me, I think, right now. But yeah, I think he's capable of doing it. And I think, putting him next to LaMelo Ball would be a shocker, somebody who can shoot at the high clip he does, because he's been playing with his two best Leonard Miller was averaging 18 and 10 in the G League this year, but he wasn't a very talented shooter. I think he was shooting a lot better at the end of the year, but it was super low usage. And Sidy Cissoko is not a shooter either. So I don't know. I'm not as concerned about spacing.
Figured out the shooting every year. The Green and Kuminga team had the worst shooting in the G League, and then last year Jaden Hardy dealt with the worst shooting in the G League, and this year it's just a lot of talented young athletes who can't shoot.
I think that's I think it's a lot of it's to do to adjust into a pro league, and the elements of that. Because it's definitely a step up from high school basketball.
Is that a shot at the Thompson twins?
No, I didn't even think. I wasn't even. I don't think the Thompson twins should be destroyed with their competition. They played high schoolers, but they had a lot of overseas games too, and they fared pretty well in those games.
I saw a video the other month about the Thompson twins versus Naz Cunningham. And I'm like, is Naz Cunningham 15, 16?
Oh, yeah.
you know who I'm talking about, right,
yep.
Logan?
No, I don't.
He's the number one ranked player in the class of 2026 now, 2025.
Yeah.
And they had a TikTok about the Thompson twins versus Cunningham.
It's like saying, would you rather have Arch Manning or Patrick Mahomes or something like that? You know what I mean, man?
It's like, oh my gosh. Caleb Williams versus Arch Manning, watch on television right now, right? But that would be 2 years ago. So what were we talking about?
Scoot Henderson spacing.
Okay, yeah, I think he's going to be okay. You guys want to shift topics?
Let's do it.
Logan is like, that was a weird transition.
I'm like, you have that power, James. That's entrusted in you, my man.
All right, now we're not talking about draft for a little bit. We're going to go straight to the NBA, and we all know Denver is having a vacation to Cancun before the finals. 9 days off. Denver's in the finals, and I honestly bet against Denver against the Lakers. I deeply regret that. Well, I'm happy they did it because I don't like the Lakers, but I regret being wrong. So, Nikola Jokic wins ring number 1, right? His last 30 games, he's averaging, what is it, like 30, 12, and 8 or something crazy like that. He's averaging
Nuts.
a triple-double in the playoffs. Okay, we can put the playoff choker thing behind us. That was really dumb to start with. Okay, if Jokic wins a ring, what does that do for his legacy? Zach, you can go first.
I mean, obviously, it does numbers. I mean, you just talked about it, like 10 seconds ago, how he had that tiny label as maybe not being great in the playoffs because he couldn't get it done as a 6th seed without his top 2 teammates. I didn't really ever understand that narrative. And then, oh my gosh, they go to the finals when they come back. Surprising. But we've never seen this before. I mean, we talk about Victor being an alien, but this dude's literally an alien as well, as a center who's averaging a 30-point triple-double. And, we have a lot of reservations of him as a defender, but he's actually been holding his own in a lot of matchups. Like, there's definitely times where he's getting beat. Anthony Davis had some good games against him, but Jokic also had good games against Davis, and Davis had, struggles in that series. And I don't think Jokic is as big of a liability as, some would label him as, but I don't really have a gauge where he's going to bump up to all time, but it's going to be a lot. Like, just that first ring. I mean, the same thing happened with Giannis. He's being labeled as by a lot of people like a top 5 power forward of all time right after he got that first ring. Like, Jokic is probably going to be in somewhat similar conversations, even though it might be a little hard to do that as a center.
I don't know, man. I think Jokic could legitimately climb to like top 15 to fringe top 10 all time already. I mean that, like, 2 MVPs. He deserved, in my opinion, his 3rd one more than out of any of the other years. I thought Jokic deserved this one. Narrative switch. Credit to Embiid. I don't want to throw shade at Embiid. Embiid was great during the regular season. But you're looking at a guy who, with his first ring, I'm not trying to say that like the supporting cast isn't great, because I think him and Murray are the best duo in basketball, but it is more in large part due to because of how unstoppable Jokic is. Zach, you talk about him struggling with Anthony Davis in that Western Conference Finals series. Guys, I don't know about you. I mean, I think Anthony Davis is the best defensive player on the planet, right?
Yep.
Jokic was unstoppable. The Lakers didn't have an answer for him. You know what I mean? Like, Anthony Davis, the best defensive player on the planet, just couldn't hold a candle to Jokic. He's just unstoppable. And yeah, he is a freak, man. People don't talk about it enough because I feel like people don't watch Denver Nuggets games or they don't watch NBA regular season. Jokic is legitimately unstoppable. We always give credit to his passing. Carson has made this point on Nerd Sesh a ton of times. He says that he thinks that Jokic is arguably the best scorer on the planet as well, with in terms of his, touch inside the arc, the tough shot making, how physical he is on the low block, his counters, everything he does in the post too, combined that he's a 40% 3-point shooter. It's Jokic, in my opinion, is the most talented offensive center of all time. I think he's the most skilled offensive center of all time. And so, he's the most skilled center of all time. He gets a ring. He has 2 MVPs and probably could have had a 3rd one. Like, yeah, I think that's one hell of a resume already. I think he'd probably be, top 15, top 20 for sure. But I think Giannis is also in that conversation, man. I think we have to appreciate Giannis for what he is already, and I think he's in that breath. But yeah, man, Jokic is one of the greatest centers of all time. We can I don't know, we can come to that conclusion now and not be like butthurt about it because he's not old.
Yeah. I think, a lot of people in the media do that thing where I feel like I've had this take for a while. I feel like a lot of people really overvalue players' careers that are already done. Mm-hmm. And they undervalue players that are still playing today.
He could never be this guy.
Yeah. He could never be John Stockton.
Dude, Jokic could never be Sabonis. You know what I mean? And it's like, guys, come on, man.
Yeah, if Sabonis, if his career was over.
If he was in the league. It's like, okay, I'm not saying that's we'll never know, but that would be like the aspiration, right? And that's generous.
I have this running joke on Twitter whenever the Wolves play the Nuggets on how I've never seen Jokic miss an 8-foot shot in my life. Like that weird like turnaround hook thing, whatever he does, hasn't missed one in his life. I've yet to see it. Just like Sean Livingston, his jumper, never seen him miss.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, random topic. Do you guys remember when that narrative that PJ Tucker was the best corner 3-point shooter of all time?
Of course.
Oh, I remember that.
That is the most wild thing that's still crazy to me because I always wonder when he's going to make the corner 3, but that's just a different topic.
Yeah, man. PJ or Ray Allen in the corner, you know?
Yeah. I want Iguodala. But yeah, I can't disagree. I think that cements some top 20. I would love to say, like, I'd love to throw number 15 or whatever. I think I would have to look at the actual players in that range. I do think it throws him into the KD, the KG. I'll take more of a KD of all time if he wins a title. But
I'd probably take Jokic, man.
I would too. I would throw him into the KG tier, right? That top 15-ish of all time. But here's the thing. He is 27 in his game age as well. So would you be surprised if he's 35 years old, still putting up 22, 11, and 8? You know, like,
I think he ends up.
I think he has 8 or 9 more All-Star games in him. So, like, we can
he's
look
also
back.
He's also in the best shape of his career now, man. I mean, he used to be Doughboy. He's legitimately in shape now.
Inspirational, man. He's one of those. He's the most underrated athlete in the league, man. Like, he is strong. His feet are insane, and he never gets hurt, man. You could say Embiid's a better natural athlete. Well, guess what? Who's playing on the court all the time? Right? Jokic's game, he takes physicality better than any big in the league right now. He's got those insane feet, and he's got insane coordination. That's all athleticism. Let's not get that twisted. It's not about how high you jump only, if as an athlete, even though that's pretty cool.
It's how you use it.
It's how you use it, right? So,
words of inspiration.
So I think Jokic, if he wins a title this year, opens up the path. I think he gets into that KG tier, but then he has the opportunity to push into the top 10 because there's still so much time for him. He's literally 28, 27 years old. I'll be surprised if he's not making All-Star games at 34, 35. So that opens the gate for him to reach that top 10 tier. And man, speaking of trolling on Twitter, Zach, I have so many, those MJ and Larry Bird playoff photos. I just say that's Ant and Jokic.
Yeah, I've seen those. That's what you do.
That's what I tell my kids. It's Ant versus Jokic, not MJ versus Larry. But yeah, I think Jokic, sky's the limit for him, man. I would not be shocked if he's the GOAT of the 2020s.
Dude, I think so too, bro. I think this dude could legitimately, and the thing that he has over other guys, right, is like we always nitpick his defensive issues. Jokic is one of those special offensive guys. Like, I think people really need to wake up to this. Something we also talked about on Nerd Sesh. Like, legitimate offensive engines, one guy that you can put that will make everything go. I'm talking Curry. I'm talking Bird. I'm talking LeBron. I'm talking Magic. I'm talking Jokic. And there's probably somebody else that I'm forgetting that's also up there. Jordan, of course, right? Like, all those guys, legitimate offensive engines in the way that we've never seen. I wouldn't even put Shaq up there, man. You know, like, Shaq was limited. Like, Jokic can do everything like those guys, man. And yeah, guys, let's just appreciate him, man. He legitimately has a shot at being like top 5, top 10 ever, man. I'm excited to watch.
He and Larry are the two most versatile, I would argue.
I think they're really similar too all time, man.
Very similar. Obviously, I think Bird was a better defender, right? I think Bird was a borderline excellent defender. So that's the difference. But offensively, man, they're so similar. Jokic is literally a 7-foot Larry Bird on offense, right? So his offensive ceiling is actually probably even higher than Larry's if he continues this ascension, which is crazy to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's, arguably the better scorer between him at his peak. I mean, we'll see what Jokic's peak is if this is even his peak.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't even know if this is Jokic's peak yet. And then we already know what he is as a passer. And I think that's miles above what Bird was at that stage.
Respect Larry as a passer, man. Larry was like,
I'm not trying to like discount him as a passer.
I think Jokic is one of the greatest ever, though, man.
I agree.
Magic or like LeBron. Do put some respect on Bird's name though.
Yeah.
Look, Larry's passing, man. I mean, it's closer to LeBron.
I think it was really good still, but
Steph,
like I just think it's
his
like
passing,
levels up.
He was averaging 8 assists in the 80s. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, let's respect Larry's passing a little bit, but I'm not going to disagree. I need respect Larry's passing, respect his scoring too. He was averaging like 29 a game when like people were scoring 80 points a game. Like, Larry's one of the most underrated players of all time, and which is crazy because he's a top 10 player ever.
Yeah.
he might be Larry Rant. He might be the most versatile player ever. He might be, just because he was an excellent shooter for his time, right? So there's an argument for that. Logan is like in his.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think about that point you just made.
I wrote a paper for my college writing class on why the NBA needs to add expansion teams, and I feel like was it Bird's era where the scoring was like 110 points per game?
Yeah,
though?
it was super high pace in the 60s, and then in the 80s
and then
too.
went way down.
It went way down because the talent
Ben Wallace
started to spread across the league when they added like 6 expansion teams, and I mean this is so off topic, but I think that's why they need to add more expansion teams right now. And
I think we are at such an abundance of talent, dude. Like we can 100% field. Yeah, like 2 more teams, man. I mean, you could probably go like Seattle, Vegas, or no, Vegas is going to get yeah, I mean Seattle, Vegas. What else? I'm trying to think about it. East Coast maybe to even it up, but I think we could legitimately get 2 more teams right now, man, with the abundance of talent in the league. And like, I mean, they're not going to be great. Obviously, their expansion teams are going to suck off rip, but we're loaded in the league now, man.
Cooper,
that was
Sonic.
Yeah, that was so off topic for me though. But I actually like wrote a paper on like there being a direct correlation between when expansion teams were added and the league scoring dropping right after that, and then started to climb back up. And I think, I think the league I don't think they're ever going to get below 110 points per game anymore because of 3-point shot efficiency right now. But I think you can bring it down like slightly. I don't know how noticeable it would be at this point, but yeah, I think you bring it down again if you added 2 more teams. Spread the talent out a little bit.
Give Jordan Poole his own team, man.
Bring in the Shanghai Sharks.
Off topic before we transition. I mean, I think the most dangerous archetype to draft late in the draft is like those volume scorers who do nothing else. Because if they
Smith.
Because if they work, they become the most overpaid players in the league. Because the volume makes you think they're more valuable than they are. I'm talking Jordan Poole. Like, if Jordan Poole hits, he's getting 140 when he's not worth 140. Because somebody's going to look at the 20 points per game and say, oh, my goodness. But then you realize how erratic he is and how much he doesn't defend and how much he gets into his own head about trying to make the fun play and not the right play.
D'Angelo Russell.
Oh, dude, read my mind. Thank you, Zach.
Don't wait. No, we shouldn't mention D'Angelo Russell. James,
have you guys seen my Twitter about D'Angelo Russell lately?
He's been cooking them.
I've been like, I'm telling you, my Twitter has been buzzing whenever I talk about D'Angelo Russell. I think I had 2,000 likes or something on a D'Angelo Russell tweet the other day. And I basically when he said Minnesota held me back, and I literally compared their stats, and it was the exact same stats. And I don't know.
And then after those comments, he averaged 9 points a game.
That is. Is there anything that ages worse than cottage cheese? I don't know.
Chris Paul.
He's 38 and cooking, man.
And I don't know about cooking anymore. He's in the kitchen. I don't know if he's
Aaron
cooking.
Williams. Just kidding.
But yeah, 2 players that I would say from this draft that I'm kind of worried about filling that same portfolio.
Mainly George, Nick Smith. I know your answer, Zach.
I like Keontae George a lot, man.
No, not Keontae George. I don't think Keontae George fills that. Bryce Sensabaugh.
Sensabaugh scares me too, dude. That's legit.
See, Sensabaugh's not a facilitator. I think he's a really pure scorer. I do have a lot of concern. When teams actually started to key in on Sensabaugh, his efficiency dropped to really bad territory last year at Ohio State. I still think he'll be a nice offensive engine at some point, maybe, but he's a really bad defender. He's not very big. And I don't think he has playmaking tools at all. I'm not very high on him, but it'd be him and Nick Smith. Keontae George, I think he's a secondary facilitator. He's bigger. I think he's got defensive upside and flashes. I don't think he really fits that.
I think Sensabaugh is like TJ Warren coming in, but with like a better 3-point jumper.
Yeah, they have the similar bodies. I see that.
I think Sensabaugh is going to be a real big defensive liability immediately, and like he's like you guys said. I mean, he just brings like spot up shooting and like difficult shot making. Keontae, I don't know, man. I'm really high on Keontae, dude. I think that dude is.
I'm a little higher on him than consensus too.
His role playmaking is really encouraging.
I don't know about Sensabaugh is an engine. I don't know if he's him with the ball in his hands. He's not a great he doesn't have great separation too, and that's something to look for too, man. With a lot of these great scorers in college, I don't know. Separation's a big thing at the NBA level, man. You know, like are they going to be able to get their own shot off? And that's a real concern that I have with Sensabaugh as well.
If the team wants to draft him and use him right, I think he could be a really nice player as a high volume catch and shoot guy because he's phenomenal at that spot in his game. But they can't overuse him in different roles.
Mm-hmm.
You guys said TJ Warren, dude. I want to think I wrote down no, that was mine for Jet Howard. I said Jet Howard was Kevin Herter. Never mind.
I'm not high on Jet Howard either, by the way.
It reminds me of like a Cam Johnson-ish player, like if he hits.
Mm-hmm.
This is really relevant to Nikola Jokic.
Oh yeah, dude.
By the way,
how does this affect LeBron's legacy?
James, how do you let us get off track like this?
I'm a horrible moderator. What can I say? Okay, let's just transition. What playoff team needs to blow it up? I don't trust my moderation anymore, so I'm just going to go straight to the point. So, Logan, you go first.
That's a great question, man. I'm thinking about it. I don't like Atlanta as an overall spot. I think they've got a lot of great individual talent. I don't think they work well together. Like I don't think DeJounte and Trey work together. I would honestly choose New York though, and I don't mean blow it up and necessarily like blow everything up the way I think that Portland needs to and completely retool. New York has the building blocks of something really great. I think Jalen Brunson is a legit number one. If he had better talent around him, I think that Brunson just wins more. Julius Randle's got to go. Oh man, guys, I don't know about y'all, dude. Julius Randle frustrates me the way no other player in the NBA can frustrate me from how good he is and how strong he is as a shooter. Yeah, dude, Cat too. Randle's just same
personality on the court, man. They just ride the emotional waves.
Yeah, and he just doesn't play beautiful basketball, man. Like Randle plays inefficient, bad basketball. I never think he's going to be great on the playoff stage. So I think they need to move on from him. RJ maybe can stay. RJ did really well at attacking downhill. I thought in these playoffs, he's inconsistent as hell. And I think there's a ceiling on what he can be, but maybe as a number 3. But I think you move on from Randle, you retool, and see if you can find another legitimate star to put alongside Brunson, man. So maybe not full blow it up, but definitely test the waters, man. Try everything because Jalen Brunson is a legitimate star and needs help. And I think you can win some playoff series with him as your lead guy.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a team that I'm like, yelling at to blow it up. I mean, the Nets already kind of did that. They already have they shipped out Kyrie and Durant. I think the Hawks would probably be like the only other legitimate potential answer. I don't trust Trae Young personally as a number 1 option on a championship team. I don't like that core around him is interesting. You got some older players now with Clint Capella. He's getting a bit older. We'll see if Onyeka Okongwu can step into that future center role. They've been trying to ship off John Collins for like 4 straight years and have been unsuccessful every year.
Collins a Miles Turner, man.
I mean, I like DeJounte Murray. I don't know. I don't really know what the path is for them to, become championship contenders right now. I like AJ Griffin a lot. I wish he was actually used with that team.
Oh, AJ's a beast, cool. Man.
That would have been cool if they would have used him more this year. They didn't decide to do that. Don't know why. But yeah, I think they would probably be the only other team that I'd think about for that.
Yeah, Atlanta, that's one team you can talk about. Here's an interesting one. What if Miami blows this 0-3?
Bruh. Jimmy and Bam are riding until the wheels fall off, man.
That's just not in his nature. But when you look at that roster, late in playoff games, why am I watching Gabe Vincent in the half court trying to create a shot with 4 guys on him? Why am I watching Duncan Robinson clank shots that are it's more open than the Pacific Ocean? And why am I watching? Like, Caleb Martin's nice, man. He had a great game the other day. But I think Miami's too reliant on him, right? And you can just go up and down that roster. It's not a very talented roster that's overachieving in the playoffs. I don't trust Bam in the playoffs. He is just not confident enough with the ball in his hands. And Jimmy Butler's great, but he's almost 34. I'm just looking at this team like, I know Pat Riley won't blow it up, right? Because he has a lot of pride in finding talent late. But Butler's value is higher than it'll ever be. Bam's like, or you trade Bam and try to upgrade if the right name's available. Like, those are the only two paths, man. I don't trust Bam, and I don't think Miami's deep enough. And, I love Jimmy. He's my second favorite player in the league, but I mean, his value is not going to be any higher. Like, it's more of a dream than a actual question. I just think it should be something Miami should maybe consider.
James, we're like 0.1 seconds away from that being an absolutely ludicrous take, bro. Like, if Marcus
yeah, they could be in the NBA Finals
that
tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Like,
no,
I don't know, dude. That's crazy. And I get it, bro. Their bench
again. I know they did it in the bubble, but like,
their bench blows, James. I mean, it is what it is. But I think the bigger issue is like the contract situation with Lowry, who's making $30 million a year. You've got the Duncan Robinson deal, and now you've got the Tyler Hero deal. It's just hard getting really good role players and a lot of good depth there. But
yeah,
I don't know. To blow it up, James, they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals
I know
like 3 of the past 4 years,
I am saying this is an 8 seed in the conference finals.
It's what they do, bro.
I know it's what they do. That's why I'm saying it's not going to happen. But what I am saying from a bird's eye view,
Jimmy to Minnesota.
Yes.
Do you imagine
for Gobert straight up?
Towns on the same team. That would be crazy, wouldn't it be? But no,
yeah, the talent there.
It's one of those like hype dreams, like, like, what if I dated Megan Fox, right? Like, it's not going to happen, but what if? That'd be pretty cool, right? Like, Miami, like, what if they blew it up? It makes sense in a lot of ways if it wasn't called the Heat. If this is the Portland Trailblazers and all this happened, this would be like, okay, blow it up, right? Heat culture is a thing. I know it is. I just wanted to throw that out there.
You're wild for that one, James. I'm sorry, bro.
I'm not wild. I'm crazy. Thank you. But yeah, that's just one team. I'm just considering assets and value management. I think their postseason is definitely an overachievement. And I love Jimmy Butler's my second favorite player, like I said, behind Anthony Edwards, which is why I would fully encourage Butler and Ant on the same team.
There's no way you like Jimmy Butler more than Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, third.
Yeah.
Third.
I was going to I had to catch you.
Jaden McDaniels is actually number 1. Ant's number 2.
Oh.
Yeah. My entire Twitter's built on my love for Jaden McDaniels, dude.
I think you have Jaden McDaniels stan or something in your bio. It's that big.
No, it's Jaden McDaniels
enjoyer. Yeah.
I'm sure I had a tweet about him today. I don't even remember what I tweeted. Oh wait, there it is.
You tweet about him so much you forget.
Let me find this. Okay. Let me see. Okay, one day ago I said, I know your basketball knowledge based on your take on Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, I remember that. Because I can't remember.
FanDuel
didn't have him
top 10 though. And Kenyon Martin Jr.
Yeah, like I like watching Kenyon Martin Jr. That dude's got freakish athleticism. He has like 1 or 2 crazy dunks a game, but that's like what he does. That's like it. Yeah. And you're talking about like one of the best defenders in basketball in McDaniels.
Who gets more offense than Kenyon Martin Jr., by the way? And James
Wiseman. Crazy stuff.
Okay. Yeah. FanDuel, I literally implied you don't know basketball right now. But if you hire us and have us part of your podcast, we can help you. Slow promotion rate. Okay. Let's transition to the last topic of the show. This is draft trivia. So let me tell you how this works, Logan. So it's going to be you versus me. I'm undefeated, no flex. I think I'm like 3-0.
This is NBA draft trivia, bro.
So how it works is we keep scores, okay? So Zach is going to ask us the name of a player. One of us is going to have the first pick to guess on what draft pick and he was, right? And then if the first person gets it right, he gets 1 point on it. But if he gets it wrong and the next person answers it correctly, he gets 2 points. And then the time again flips. But also, one more detail. there's technically 2 tries. So both of us get it wrong, and then I get it right the second try, and I was the first person to go, you get a half a point. And then if the second person gets it right on the second try, he gets a point, and it's first to 11.
All right, bet. I'm gonna be honest, dude. My NFL trivia is probably better, but yeah, I'm gonna try to take the king off the throne.
You're crazy. I've seen you guessing the top passing yards of all time, like the top 10 guys. I'm like, goodness gracious, who is that?
Man, man, I'm kind of nervous, bro. James said he's the GOAT, bro.
I didn't say I'm the GOAT.
Dude, during the pandemic, all he did was watch draft highlights.
I was so bored, and I gained like 40 pounds because I was watching the draft and eating M&Ms. So,
dude, respect. That's kind of the life.
That was a good life, man.
All right, so who wants? I mean, do we just go?
Zach, you
get the first. All right, we'll let the guest go
bruh.
first. Sorry, James. All right, so Logan, what pick was Thomas Robinson?
Out of Kansas?
I believe so.
I think he was the 3rd pick to the Kings.
Yes.
Nope.
5.
Yep. That's 2 points for James. He
Damn,
stole it.
bro.
All right, James, what pick was Austin Rivers?
10.
Yep. All right, Logan, what pick was Tyler Zeller?
Oh, man.
This one's harder.
Cody went 4 to the Bobcats. Tyler
Yep.
Zeller's dirty, bro. That's so disrespectful that I would just know Tyler Zeller off the top of my head. Cody was 4 to the Bobcats. I distinctly remember that, bro. I'll say, fuck. I think it's probably like right after the lottery. I'll say 15.
Nope.
27?
Nope.
16.
Nope.
28.
Nope. It was 17.
Oh, bro, it was so close.
Man,
I thought you were gonna get it right. I said right after the lottery.
Late 20s.
All right, James. What pick was Nick Young?
16.
Yep. That's nuts.
Bro, new Swaggy P.
That's crazy.
What year was he? Like 07? What year is that?
07, I think. Oh wait. Is that
It was
right?
something like that. Yeah, so it was 7 or 8. I just have like the name. I don't have the years where they were picked right now. All right. Logan, what pick was Marcus Smart?
We got this one.
I don't know. 12?
Nope.
6.
Yep. James is on his game today.
Nerd Sesh, man.
Dude, basketball is not like basketball draft. Dude, Carson, I bet, could run you. If you go like, he can name every player drafted in order in like the last 5 years, bro. It's disgusting.
That is a matchup I want to see.
I want to see Carson.
All right.
I want Carson.
James, what pick was JaVale McGee? I'll give you a little harder one here.
18.
Yep.
Bruh.
What in the world? That's like 2006 or 2005 too. That was a while ago. Logan, what pick was Eric Gordon?
Oh, Eric Gordon was 2010? That's like Gordon Hayward and I want to say 2 or 3. It's like him and Wesley Johnson, I think, right, bruh?
Eric Gordon.
I'm gonna say 3.
Nope.
He went 7.
7?
Yep.
It was John Wall. Who goes 2 in that draft, man?
What year did you say it was? 2010?
Yeah, that was Derek Williams. No, that was 20.
It was yeah, Derek Williams was 2011.
2011. Let me check because I got the pages pulled up right now.
Who was 2010, man? That's gonna mess with me.
Wait, Eric Gordon. What year was he? Because he wasn't. I think he was 09.
Evan Turner.
It was Evan Turner, bro. You're right. It was Evan Turner.
Well, what year was Eric Gordon again?
No, 2010.
2010. I didn't see him there.
Why should I? What's the score?
Oh, I'm getting cooked. It might be over.
Yeah,
he was 11-0 yet.
I think it's 9,
yeah,
right?
It's 9-0. But yeah, it was Derrick Rose, Michael Beasley, OJ Mayo, Westbrook, Love, Gallinari,
Dude, that's 08.
and Gordon.
That's 08. Or no, wait, he's 08?
Yeah.
Dang, I am thinking about Wesley Johnson, bro. Dang.
All right, so is it your turn, James, I believe?
It's whose turn is it?
No, it's you, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll give you the hardest one I have here. What pick was DeLon Wright?
Ooh, I know the range. 17.
Nope.
Man, I'm not gonna get this. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, bro. 29.
Nope.
19.
Nope.
Is he undrafted? Is this a trick question?
He was drafted.
30.
Nope, 28. You're
DeLon Wright, I think you've said him before. I can't get that guy.
Yeah, I've probably done a few of these guys. Like
DeLon Wright is just like, I love DeLon, like, but he is one of the most random names in the league, like in terms of draft picks. So
all right, Logan, what pick was Ben McLemore?
Oh man, I loved Ben McLemore, dude. I want to say it's either like 9 or 11. I'll say 11.
Nope. Can James end it?
7.
Yep. That's the first sweep on the show.
That's a sweep.
That's a
Dude,
sweep.
I don't know the NBA draft like that, bro.
Okay,
We gotta do some QB stuff, bro.
Ooh, you cook me. Oh man.
No, that's a good run, James. I didn't. Man,
Yeah,
dude.
Like I've seen you guys' TikToks, and then like it's one of you two. I was pretty sure it's you, but you're like naming guys. Like I just saw a TikTok yesterday on my way to my grandma's house. Like you were trying to name the quarterbacks with like the most like quarterbacks with the most receiving yards who are over 6'6" or something, and you pulled out some dude that had like 900 total career passing yards. Like,
dude, that's it's
Logan's
just like
a freak, man.
It's just old football, like collecting football cards, man. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy was 6'8". It was Dan McGuire, bro. And I remember that one. Just obscure. I'm sure, James, what do you do? Do you mostly like just comb through Basketball Reference, or are you like more of a book guy?
Honestly, like I'm a numbers nerd. So like if I look at a number and I like know it in my head, I'll remember.
I mean, for the drafts, where did you do that stuff? Is that more book or is that Basketball Reference?
I'll look it up on Basketball Reference. Be like, okay, cool. Or I mean, I've watched probably like 7 or 8 drafts, but
okay, guys,
like just on the side, like not
okay. You guys as Wolves fans, who was like the number 7 pick in 2009?
Number 7, Corey Brewer.
No, 2009.
Steph Curry. Oh, shut up. That was Ricky and I 09.
No. Who'd you guys take though? Who'd you guys take though?
We took Johnny Flynn.
Johnny Flynn and Rubio.
Honestly, Rubio and Curry would have been fun for a couple of years.
So fun.
Curry would have led you guys to like at least one title, right? You can't mess up Steph Curry, right?
Curry would have.
We would have found a way.
We would get to the second round with Curry, and it would be glorious.
Yes.
Honestly. Anthony Edwards, man, I love you, man. If you leave us, I don't blame you. But
all right, here I want one final thing from you guys. Who's your guys' like favorite, like under the radar prospect heading into the draft that you don't feel like a lot of other guys are talking about? I'm super pumped. I'm trying to garner some information, guys. Who's somebody that people are sleeping on that I need to be on the lookout for?
Zach's been putting work in, man.
I have been.
Zach's been in the lab. Lay it on me.
I have like a bunch of stuff written up about guys, but
you got a guy, James? I know you're pretty big into the draft too.
Yeah, I still like Ricky Council a lot, man, from Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's not a great defender. Yeah, he's not a great shooter. I get that, but he has a pop with him with the ball, and he is so powerful and explosive. I think if you put him on the right team and he commits to, look, I do question how he's going to blend in early in his career, but at the same time, man, if you get a defensive-minded dude out of him with his length and explosion, and you allow him to have the ball in his hands off the bench, I think he could be a steal.
Are you looking for more like second round sleepers or like guys that
late first round, like any guy that you're really passionate about that you think is kind of underrated?
Well, I haven't really talked about this guy even with James that much, but I'm like super high on Kobe Buffkin out of Michigan.
Yeah, man.
John loves Kobe. You know John from Pick a Side, right? Right, Logan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's great. I was on his pod yesterday. He loves him.
Dude, Buffkin's a awesome bucket, dude.
Like he's He's a super young sophomore. Like, he's younger than the Thompson twins and Brandon Miller. Like, he was, once Michigan actually decided to, give him the main scoring role this year at Michigan, he went absolutely nuts. He's, 6'4", but he's a 71% finisher at the rim. He's absolutely nuts there. I think he's I think he's a talented shooter. He shot 35%, I think it was, but I think he's a much better shooter than what the numbers said. And his perimeter defense is really awesome too. I think he's going to have to add weight. I think that's one of the big things he's got to do, add like 10, 15 pounds. He's got a thin frame. He's like 180 pounds right now, but I think he's got 3-level scoring upside. I think he could be a plus defender, secondary creation tools. Like, he's legit. I think he could go lottery. I don't think he will, but I think my grade on him will be around the lottery.
Yeah, no, that's where I got him, dude. I think that I think he's just a scorer. Like, initially, I think you can have him as like the sixth man, right off your bench. I think he is limited.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about those inefficient or efficient buckets, but like guys who
do nothing else. That's the problem.
Don't do a whole lot of else. Bufkin, it kind of reminds me of those guys. Like, my comp for him was like a smart lefty Jordan Poole, because I think he's like just more technical than a guy like Poole. Like, Poole's just so fucking janky, man. Kills me sometimes. But I really like Bufkin too, dude. He's one of my favorite guys in the class. I have him comped to like my favorite player in the league, like Emmanuel Quickley, bro. I
love Quickley.
I think he's just going to go get buckets, man. That's always valuable in today's NBA, man. Guys who can create their own shot.
Quickly learned to defend too in his third year.
Yes, he did.
And then a second round guy that I'm a big fan of. I like Keontae Johnson a lot from Kansas State. Mm-hmm. He's a little bit older, and he had that like crazy collapse at Florida, and he lost. He couldn't play for a whole year, and he's got those medical concerns. He actually got cleared today by the NBA, but he played. He was awesome in March Madness. That Kansas State team. You probably saw them on TikTok all the time. Hyping themselves up in the locker room, playing Low Down by Lil Baby. Like clapping to that. That was awesome. But yeah, I think Keontae Johnson's really cool too. He's a Timberwolf already. I'm declaring it. He's Timberwolves at 53.
Same with Scoot Henderson.
Scoot Henderson and Keontae Johnson. You guys are Timberwolves.
Yeah, we declared it just now. Hey, Logan, what's your favorite NBA team?
I'm a Kings fan.
Kings. I forgot and I remembered. Yeah, we can relate. I mean, life sucks. I mean, life is good for you this year, but life still sucks.
I guess if you're predicting our downfall, I wouldn't look at it like that. I mean, for you guys, yeah, you guys are screwed. You guys are handcuffed to Rudy Gobert for the next 5 seasons. So, like, God bless your soul.
I still believe in Rudy. I don't.
What's homeboy's name's Tim Donaghy, right? Or not Tim Donaghy? Who's your guys? Donaghy's the ref. Who's your guys? Is Tim Connolly? Yeah, shout out him, bro. That guy's the GOAT.
It all went downhill for him when I got a picture with him at the state fair. That's what it was. I cursed him. I
can't wait because Rudy Gobert was 64 hours in darkness, and now he is coming in the East.
So the Aaron Rodgers.
Although I do think Rudy's going to have a way better year than he did last year. Just having a rest this summer. I don't think he's doing FIBA. And I also think just an extra year with the team. And I think Rudy being embarrassed the way he was is a good thing, partially. So I think he's going to have a bounce back here. Does that make me believe in this team? Heck no. No. Get Cat off my team. So that's
I have a really quick random thought. I was wondering where you guys have Anthony Black on your boards.
I'm like 9.
Yeah, I think I have Anthony Black like 10. It's weird, man. We're seeing all these like really long athletic guards who have good feel for the game and playmaking chops and stuff like that. And that's where we're trending in the league as a whole. But, the one thing that is translatable to playoff scoring is, half court creation, half court scoring. And a lot of these guys at the top, Amen, Asar, Scoot, even, Anthony Black, like a lot of these guys do have major like half court scoring concerns in terms of just like in between games. Yeah, man. So, that's my one concern with Anthony Black, but he's got money feel for the game, and he's shown flashes of that floater too. So I like him a lot. It's just, there's not a whole lot of really complete guys. When are there? You know what I mean? All the guys are going to have flaws. It's about who gets better at them. But I like Black a lot, but that's just my one concern, man. Same with a lot of the other top guards, is that half-court bucket getting.
I'm still trying to decide, high on Black.
Like, what path is he going to take? Is he going to be like, this like big, just like this big version of Ricky Rubio, which would be a pretty good thing, I think. But or does he develop the shooting and does he become like this really excellent player? Or is he going to be a 6'8" Alfred Payton? Because I see a little a part of me has like this little Alfred Payton like.
Bro, you were pulling out the comps today, James.
Man, I mean, Alfred Payton was like the same player coming into the league.
It's like when they comped DeAndre Hunter to Jay Crowder on draft night, and it's like, what the fuck, man? We got Jay Crowder with the 4th pick? Like, come on, dude.
I feel bad for the team.
No, Lonzo Ball's 2nd pick getting compared to Ricky Rubio. Remember that? And honestly, it wasn't.
Is that what it was? Wow.
But like, can you imagine like getting like what if like because you remember the Deion Waiters comp for Ant? What if Mike Schmidt just said he's and you took him number 1 overall? The Ringer hated Ant and all of a sudden love Ant. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think I'm like one of the highest like consensus wise on Anthony Black. I have number 6.
Do you have him above Kason Wallace?
Yes.
I love Kason, man.
I think so. I think those 2 guys are the best perimeter defenders in the class. Like I think they're separated tier wise as best perimeter defenders in the class. But I think my opinion, I would take Anthony Black future-wise perimeter defender because his 6'7" chops. He's one of the best athletes in the class. He's super quick, and I think my biggest thing with Anthony Black, I think he's arguably like some people have arguably said he's the best passer in the class, and he did that on a team at Arkansas where the spacing was like actually maybe the worst in college basketball. Like when Nick Smith wasn't playing, like even when Nick Smith was playing, Nick Smith was poor efficiency wise. They don't have a single shooter on that team at all. The shooting was so bad, yet he was doing what he did and, becoming, like one of the best passers in college basketball last year. I don't know. I'm super high on the guy. I'm really high on him.
I think Anthony Black's Alfred Payton. I think Brandon Miller's Jared Culver, and I think LaMelo Ball's Stephen Curry. I was kidding.
And James Adams is Luka Doncic, man.
Yep. Floats.
And I'm Kendrick Perkins with basketball. I like Kendrick Perkins. Is that
okay? That might be where I draw the line, man.
No, I just think I think Kendrick Perkins is so funny. I just think he's hilarious. So he is such a charming, funny guy.
Good personality.
I think, and sometimes like he will like once in a while he'll throw like once in a while, like you think, like he'll throw it because he's not afraid to throw at anything. He'll throw the biggest banger on the planet like 3 years from all of a sudden. You're like, whoa, he nailed that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think Perkins is funny. I think he's really good.
He's a Wolves supporter too.
That's actually probably the reason. I'm just kidding. No, I actually like Perkins, but I don't want to disrespect him. I don't want this on my reel. I might delete that part. But okay. Well, I think that is a good spot to draw the line. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Once again, Jay Wilder, Adam, Zach Dean. He is Logan Camden. You can find him on Nerd Sesh, which is now on The Volume, which is ran by Mr. Colin Cowherd, which is pretty awesome. So what do you guys want to say before we close this out?
Game 7 tomorrow. Excited. It's really what's on my mind right now.
Pleasure for having me on the show, guys. I'd love to come back and talk some ball. It was a blast. You guys know your shit. And buy all the Kason Wallace stock you can right now because it's going up. It's going up.
And I got one thing to say.
Here goes 10 more minutes of Kason Wallace talk.
Scoot Henderson, you're a Timberwolf. Okay, there it is. All right, Portland, Karl Anthony Towns is a Trailblazer. Okay. Now that's a good spot to end the show. Thank you guys once again so much for listening, and we'll get a show up soon. I'll probably be in Paris for our next episode, so that's going to be kind of interesting. But all right, everybody, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.